thing I'm gonna do the whole drywall like completely finished.
Yeah, that's.
Just because me personally, I'm like, okay, I'm handy too, so
Yeah.
like, I know where everything is. I'm gonna map everything out.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy like pre-made drywall doors effectively. So like where we've got our valves, you can put like just a hedge into there.
Yeah.
I did some plumbing this weekend because I tore out a wall and ripped out a water line on accident. And a drywall knife, and there was the vent stacks that's a bathroom.
Yeah.
And it's just a 90-degree wall. And I had a drywall knife to just saw that one like that in a water line. I was like, you're fucking kidding me. So, anyways, yeah, and then we get water down here. So there's gonna be something in that corner that's gonna run the whole way except for this 90, which is under the garage. So that's the other thing too. Do you guys have? So our vent or our water line goes down to there, but in an ideal world, we'd have it kick back to our sump. Do you guys have like a water pump that you sell?
I would say pump.
Okay, yeah, then probably gonna need one of those.
Okay.
Just because I prefer to have the line go up and back rather than I can build over this because we're gonna use the dry core panels on the floor. But
Yeah.
it would probably just be smarter since we're already spent the money to get it done back there.
And the sump's not back there yet.
No, they gotta come put that in. So that's the other thing. It's like if we go with you guys, this can't happen until like November 13th at the earliest.
Okay.
Because the sump pump is already scheduled to go on 11th and 12th.
Okay.
And so it'd have to be after that. I don't know if that changes anything, but that's.
No, that doesn't change. So it's another month away.
Yeah.
It could change one thing. So we do have some promotions running
Okay.
that end October 15th.
So what if we sign the contract before then? Is it fine?
Well, is your main issue just the water getting over there?
Well, the main issue is they gotta come dig a trench. It's gonna be dirty as hell out here. Like
Okay.
they're literally jackhammering along the.
I was thinking more just like if it was just because we want to get water.
Oh, no.
We gotta
Like,
wait. But
they're
no,
literally.
I'm with you now.
Yeah.
I'm with you now.
Like everything down here has to be out of that basement in 6 weeks.
I'll make a phone call and see if we can do that because the promotion is $2,200 off of a full qualifying system.
Okay.
Which is basically our middle tier and up.
Okay.
I'll go over more of that. I'll see if I can get some more detailed information for you, and then we'll move from there.
Okay.
I'll just start taking some measurements. I'll let you do what you need to do.
Yeah, I've got what time? I've got about 10 minutes before this, about 5 minutes before it starts, give or take. I mean, don't worry about making noise. Like
Okay.
it won't be the worst thing that's happened on this. Trust me. Usually my kid will come screaming down.
So what kind of podcast is it?
Here, I mean, you can come back here. Like it's not streaming. Well, it's streaming live, but the cameras aren't on yet. So what I did, it's just a technology-related podcast. We do a lot of work with Microsoft.
Okay.
And we got a podcast, and this thing, this video will probably, I don't know, 10, 15,000 people will watch it, and we do it every day, every single day. And so I just built this. Like these are just foam panels, man. And you can see some of them are held up with screws, but on camera you can't tell at all.
Yeah.
And I figured out how to basically build a complete audio video stack, and I call a buddy on Skype. He does it from his house, and then it works. We just built all this.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's so far worked out.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's.
Did you stumble upon this, or is this something
Yeah.
that you were like kind of like, hey, I have this idea and I have this image?
Stumbled. Like I used to be an accountant.
Okay.
And it was all right, but I hated the career, and I just enjoyed writing, and I write just blogging and whatever, and I got really good at building websites and driving traffic to them. And the guy I'm calling here introduced me to the owner of the company, who I met in a bar in New York City one night, and we had some beers. And long story short, I now own part of the company, and we do podcasting. We've got 2 technology-related websites, and like Microsoft sends us like hardware to showcase off, like review and whatnot. And
That's pretty cool.
it's I don't want to say it's a grind because I love it. I love every second of it, but it's been work.
Yeah.
This is the glamorous part of it. The unglamorous part is like trying to line up advertisers, trying to, it's a business. At the end of the day, we got to eat. And so this is the fun part, and then I work
see I have an office right above here, and I have this here. There's no turning off.
Yeah.
Is the problem.
Yeah.
But you know, I work out of the house, so it could be worse. It could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll let
Yeah.
you get ready, and I'll start doing what I need to do.
Cool, cool.
Ready is such a fluid term.
All right, we'll be live in a second. Forgot to pull up the site. You been playing the new Call of Duty?
Yep. Not actually the second, but the second.
Playing the old Call of Duty right now?
The old Call of Duty? I've been playing a variety of old Call of Duties.
You would.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, we'll talk about the new Call of Duty.
Yeah.
I want to discuss this UWP is dead thing if we can. I will do it in non-emotional ways. I don't know if you've been following this Twitter shit fest. And also, I have just something to real quick about like a Thunderbolt 3 dock thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, whatever.
We could just get drunk. You
know what? That's right. Let's do this at 4 o'clock on Friday. And then I'll tell you how I really feel.
That's the scotch will bring out the truth. Is a tried and true method in this household.
Yeah. Right.
It's you'll appreciate this too. You know how we just went through the debacle of getting our street repaved and all that.
Mm-hmm.
They're back with a jackhammer digging up all the spots they screwed up because.
Fantastic. Oh, yeah. That's the other thing I got to tell you about is my roof.
Oh.
We'll discuss.
Got a lot to talk about.
I know. All of a sudden.
Yeah. This all working.
Oh, that deserves to be recorded.
Like you know what
amazing.
What's missing. Well, we'll talk about it because this is a good point.
Yeah.
All right, we got like 30 seconds, something like that. Start right on the hour, or maybe just a second before. Did I close that tab? That was not smart. All right, you ready?
Sure.
Welcome back, everybody. It is Friday, the end of, well, it's getting close to the end of September, but it's Friday. That's all that really matters, I think.
Yep. I don't know about where you live, but fall has actually occurred here.
Not here. It
was 40 something at night, like 46, 44.
83 freedom units outside, which is about 28 communist units. Yeah. So we got.
That's what. Yeah, it's going to be warm over the weekend and into Monday, but the last 2 nights have been in the 40s.
Well,
it's been chilly.
So Paul, I've come to a revelation since we've talked last, which was yesterday.
Right, it might have been earlier today, but yeah,
it might even actually. But yeah. Anyways, so I think the Apple Watch is the new iPad.
Explain.
Yep. So here's the deal. When you go to buy a tablet right now, you buy an iPad or other.
Okay.
When you go to buy a smartwatch, you buy an Apple Watch or other. They are going to, because there was talk yesterday or this week about how Google kind of shut down their smartwatch investigations or discovery hardware, whatever you want to call it. And so they clearly don't think they're going to make a bunch of money on it. There's always going to be the Fitbits, and Samsung will always have a thing. And I'm not saying those guys are going away, but I think it's Apple's market to eat, much like the tablet market has. And that's just going to kind of be it.
I agree. Smart. It's true. I was thinking the other day there was a story about Apple or Google in 2016 was about to release smartwatches and then didn't. And there was an interesting little tidbit in there. It said something about the LG smartwatches that came out that Christmas season. And I distinctly remember them pushing those very hard. But okay, regardless. Anyway, my thought about that was, there are 2 areas where Google has really failed the ecosystem, and that's watches and tablets, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you can put Android in a tablet, and the more modern rationale for an Android tablet is really to get a Chrome, 2-in-1 or tablet, whatever. But they should have jumped in with both feet in both things. Should have taken years of loss just to get to the point where Apple was a couple of years ago, right? By ceding this to Apple, they've given up. Like it's over, which proves your point. Like Google should have, how do we say this? Like, I don't know. Google does night mode great on their cameras, right? So a year later, Samsung comes out with a night mode, and it doesn't matter who. OnePlus comes out with a night mode, and they're garbage. Like they're terrible. Yeah. And of course, at first, you're going to really get punched in the gut over that because it's like, this other company does this thing better, but then you improve it, right?
Yep.
And we're at the point now where other companies are doing it just as well or better in some cases. And that's the thing that Google didn't do with the watch, and I don't think with Android tablets. Because the problem, and I see this a lot, I see this on Chromebooks like this week when I've been using Chromebooks again a lot. You download OneDrive is a good example. Right? So OneDrive is a native Android app. You run it, it runs full screen. It looks off, Yeah. So you resize it because you hit the restore button essentially. And of course, what it comes down to is it's a phone app. It shrinks down to a little phone shape, and then it looks completely normal. And it runs fine, but you're never going to get people to embrace this form factor unless those things look and run natively on that size screen.
Sure.
So Apple, whether they did it themselves, I do feel very strongly that the developer base, just like the user base, is a lot more engaged on the iOS side than it is on the Android side.
Yeah, I would agree.
Whatever
with
the
that.
reason, those things have happened, sure. And I agree with what you said. Fitbit they're evolving their smart watch platform. It's actually pretty great.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere, but they're not going to be the dominant player.
No, never. They're not even. It's not even going to be close. It's going to be Apple with like 70 to 80% of the market, and then a bunch of really small players.
Yeah, the way I kind of came to this last night, because this is what I do, and I have no life or anything else like that, is I was sitting there thinking, what would be harder for me personally to get rid of, my iPhone or the watch? And I could get rid of the phone much easier than I could get rid of the watch.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also there's something going on with the Apple Watch that paralleled what happened earlier with the iPhone, where in the beginning it was very much a companion device. If you wanted to get content on or off of it or sync it or whatever, you had to do that through a cable to the PC or the Mac, And over time, of course, it became a standalone device. And these days, I bet most people probably never go near their computer with the phone. Like it just does all its stuff up in the cloud,
Yep.
And I'm not an Apple Watch user, but it's very clear to me from the outside that with every rev of the software and to a lesser extent the hardware, it is becoming more and more of a standalone device.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of the thing, because here's the perfect example. We walk our dog most nights when it's not 7 million degrees outside, and I leave my phone at home, and I just take the watch, and it reduces. I hate to even mention this, but everybody knows that feeling when you find out you're like, oh crap, I left my phone at home, and if your tire blows, you're screwed. What this does, obviously, is it keeps you connected to the world in a very small way. Like I can make phone calls and I can respond to an emergency text message or something like that, but I'm not really going to get distracted by it. It's notifications only for the ones that I've set up, and that's it. And
no, there's a freedom to that. I mean, it's as a guy, that thing where you kind of pat yourself down, like, oh shit, where's my wallet or whatever. I mean, I've experienced what you're talking about, not with the phone, but with my wallet. We do this on home swaps. Years ago, if you go back like 15 years, 10 years, whatever, I would bring during the summer where you don't have like a jacket or something where you can hide a wallet, you don't want to get pickpocketed in Europe or whatever. I would bring like kind of a money belt thing you wear under your waist, around your waist, like under your clothes. And if I needed to get a credit card or money out, I could do that in private, and you can still carry that stuff. These days, last couple of years, we go on a trip, or even like the weekend we were just in DC, we're walking around in the world and wearing shorts. My wife is going to carry a purse. She has credit cards. Yeah. No one's going to ever need my ID for anything. And I just bring the camera or the phone. Yeah. And it's free. At first, it's like, oh crap. Oh yeah, no, that's okay. But it's of course, my wife doesn't get to benefit from this. I'm sure she's resentful, but I mean, and when I go for a walk, I only bring the phone, which I listen to like audiobooks or whatever, and headphones. But I don't have my wallet. Obviously, like I'm walking around the neighborhood. It's fine, but it's nice when you can do that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, that's my take on the Apple Watch, and I think it'll be around for a while. I'm not planning to get the 5. There's not enough reason to go.
I was curious if you're going to change your mind on that. And have you thought what's happened with the iPhone, if anything?
No, we haven't done anything. Nothing.
Yeah.
I am not planning to get a Pro. That is not on my agenda. It's just up to my wife.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to push the conversation, but when she's ready, Paul, when
she's ready. Nice.
We will.
Yep. That's how we approach everything in marriage.
Yeah, actually, a lot of it not that the phone is all that expensive, but we're doing some expensive stuff around the house, and I think we're kind of just waiting for the dust to settle on the finances to make sure that everything is somewhat peachy and not too cryy.
Not
I
too
think
hurty.
cryy is a word, but I think people understand what that means when it comes to paying for stuff. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I my iPhone will not arrive for weeks, which is aggravating. I could probably drive out to the Apple Store right now and just buy one, but it's not there's a OnePlus thing happening. There's all kinds of phones happening, so it's like I'm swimming in phones. It's not a big deal, but increasingly, it does appear that the camera system on the Pros are like dramatically better.
Yeah, mine,
which is very unusual.
I apparently bought the worst phone with the worst camera. That's what I have.
Well, yeah, I mean, comparatively, I guess.
Comparatively.
Year over year. It's unusual, right? A lot of times, most times, it's just an evolutionary thing, but it looks like this is actually a big deal. And for video, selfies, for all kinds of reasons. But so that's interesting. And then I would also say, this will impact your wife. I mean, increasingly, it's become obvious that the real value in this lineup, just like last year, is the low-end model.
Yep.
And it's even more true this year than it was before. So that's neat. I mean, I like I said, that's a phone that's going to last for years and years.
Yep.
It's going to be a good one.
Fully agree. I think it's, anyways. Well, whenever we, and by we, I think it's more so whenever my wife remembers that she needs a new phone.
Yeah.
But, we'll putz on down to the local Verizon shop and see what unlimited plan they can shove us into, because they have like 7.
Yeah. Which one of the unlimited asterisk plans?
Yeah, that's what they should be called, is unlimited asterisks, because that's what it is.
Because you're on Verizon. Yeah, it's unbelievable. So speaking of cryy, as you know, we had the guy come out. There's a couple of companies in the neighborhood that have gone around and inspected all the houses, and they report back to their insurance companies, and half the roofs in the neighborhood have been replaced. I don't know for a fact. I'll have to ask my father. This is either the original roof on the house, which would make it 35 years old, frankly, but I suppose it's possible. Or it was replaced when my father bought the house, which would have been 20 years ago. And I don't have any memory or knowledge of that. I don't know.
It's not a spring chicken.
Yeah, but I also feel very strongly that what's happening in my neighborhood is tantamount to insurance fraud, and that
oh yes, very much.
I look at these roofs and I think to myself, I'm not seeing it. So this morning, after a couple of delays, the guy representing our insurance company came to do his inspection, and so he's up on the roof today. And I was leaving to go to the gym. I had to kind of maneuver around his vehicle, which is fine. But I noticed, like, my wife had come to the door, and I was thinking, man, I just missed the part where he says, yeah, your roof is fine. It's old, but, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm driving to the gym, and my phone makes a little sound. My wife has texted me, and this is what she wrote. She says, so we need a new roof, new gutters, new downspouts, and new windows frames on half of the windows. Also, there's a spot of siding that needs to be repaired. And our insurance company is going to cover all of this.
Wow.
I was like, what? So I called her back, and I was like, are you serious? And she's like, yeah. She goes, he found more stuff than the guy who did the original roof inspection did. So I guess whatever, we'll pay the deductible and get the whole thing replaced.
So we did on ours, except our roof was actually leaking. That's why we ended up calling. Because if there's water coming through there's clearly some sort of...
actually, you know what? We have a water leak too. We don't see it very often because it's in the upstairs, like the other bathroom, not the master bath. But and there's no up there. Like we have This house is like the hotel from The Shining, like half of it's shut off, you know. I think this summer when Mark was here, we had a really serious rainstorm one day, and he's like, "Hey, there's like a drip coming into the bathroom," and we were like, "Huh." So it was one of those things. It was not big. It was not a big deal, and it only happened it happened, I guess, twice. We noticed it. I don't know if it was the first time or whatever, but I guess just by virtue of the roof being replaced, like that will get fixed. I think it was something like obviously something happened up there, but I think that this will probably fix that, because it might be like around one of the little, like a vent pipe or something. Maybe some of the shielding would have come off or something. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, fun.
Yeah.
You know what else is fun, Paul?
What?
UWP.
Yeah. Right. All right. So for those people who are premium subscribers to the site, in the first newsletter from about a week and a half ago, I wrote about a conversation that Brad was part of on Twitter the week before, where I had inadvertently closed a tab in a browser, in Chrome or New Edge, it doesn't matter which one, and I know how to get it back. But as someone who types a lot and uses a lot of keyboard commands, I thought to myself, why can't I tried it, Control Z, like, why wouldn't that bring it back? I have my own method for bringing back the tab. I got a bunch of responses. Brad's response was the answer, which is actually there is a keyboard shortcut for that, and it's Control Shift T, right?
Yep.
Which makes sense on some weird level, I guess, but it's kind of like using Start to shut down a computer, because Control T is new tab, so Control Shift T is obviously old tab. I don't know. I don't know how you justify that, but clearly when it happened, whatever one engineer at whatever browser maker, Microsoft or Netscape probably, whenever they did it, Control Z was implemented in some way that they were like, we can't add this to the undo stack, and screw it, we'll just do this other thing. And then everyone copied it, because everyone copies whoever's number one, and here we are. And most browser makers use that same keyboard combination that Brad mentioned. But here's the thing. A browser is just a software application. It can be implemented any way you want. There's no such thing as a system-wide undo stack. It's application-based. So the application can decide how this works. And so I was like, I appreciate that there is one, so that's good. It's a non-discoverable thing, like most keyboard shortcuts, but everyone knows Control Z, so that's the thing.
Yeah.
I still think it should be Control Z. That was my argument. And I got a bunch of response types. We kind of went back and forth. There's a bunch of people like, did you know you can right-click? Did you know you can blah, blah, blah? And yeah. I'm just saying, I do it this way. Like, why? It should be consistent. That's all. Anyway, I happened to write about this and the range of response types you can get. And I guess there was every once in a while something will happen. Like, I don't even know like what types of things these could be. Some kind of online thing where some team at Microsoft talks about something, or there'll be like the new version of the Microsoft, not Teams, Microsoft To Do comes out, and it's like, oh, it's the UWP app, like, I thought UWP was dead, Paul, and people get really pissy about this. Like, they get really personal, and it's always like, I think that you are just saying what you think, and that no one told you this. And it's like, guys, like, first of all, whatever you think of me, I don't make stuff up, for one thing. And certainly I speculate as much as anyone. I will write an editorial where I'm like, I am of the opinion that the Microsoft Store is on the way out, or that the UWP is dead, or whatever the topic might be. But at Microsoft Build, a senior Microsoft executive, someone who could in fact kill UWP, stated off the record and asked not to be cited that UWP was dead, and that this person was the one who had killed UWP. This is a fact. So that's what I've reported. But people, every time there's some other UWP thing, people will say, but you said, and it's worse than you said. A lot of time it's just personal attack. I don't know what I'm talking about, blah, 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 whatever it is. So here's what I've kind of come to on this. First of all, I'd love to go to Microsoft. I'm going to go to Microsoft and see if I can't get some kind of official, interview or statement or something. But I don't expect them to say, oh yeah, UWP's dead. Here's what and we talked the other day, like what my expectation was about the future of the Microsoft software development program, platform, whatever. I think what happened was UWP was their platform, It was. They really tried to jam this down people's throats.
Yeah.
It was Windows 10 specific, so it left out a huge chunk of the PC user base. And there's this, one Windows thing where they wanted apps to work everywhere, which is completely understandable. I feel, and this is my opinion, but I feel like one of the reasons UWP failed is because it had to do that least common denominator thing where it worked on tablets, phones, Xboxes, Surface Hubs, embedded devices, whatever the things were. That it wasn't ever designed to create like professional user experiences like you see in Microsoft Office or standard desktop apps. It was more designed for these big touch points, so big buttons, big round, silly looking buttons. And I was of the opinion for many years like they should have done a pro version of UWP that was just for the desktop, where you could make professional apps with this thing. I don't have no problem with the UWP. I don't feel like they ever paid much attention to it. So my guess today is that Microsoft we know that Microsoft finally came to the notion that tons of developers are not coming on board with this thing. We have to start supporting other frameworks, other styles of programming, because we're losing people. Yep. And they brought WPF and WinForms back from the dead, fully supported, and they said all of this stuff that used to be unique to UWP, we're going to port it back to Win32, we're going to port it back to WinForms, we're going to put WPF, et cetera, et cetera. So Microsoft killing UWP doesn't mean that it just suddenly disappears from the earth. It's still there. There's code out in the world. People have written apps with this stuff. Yep. They're going to update those apps. They will update UWP for some amount of time, as they will these other things with new features that exist in Windows that come to new versions of Windows. What is dead is the notion that UWP is the platform. It is not the platform. It's gone. They're not doing that anymore. I mean, and I'm not saying this in some kind of Weasley way, like, look, we can all be right. I'm just trying to understand it because, again, I didn't invent this notion. I'm just telling you what I was told. Right? So how do we make sense of it? Like, how does this work? When Microsoft shifted from, I have to think of something, from WinForms to WPF, WinForms didn't just disappear. Right. People had written code to that framework, and it was updated for some period of time as well. That's how this works. So I guess my only issue with all this is I want to know, like you do. I'm curious what's going on. If it works out that Microsoft is like, actually, UWP is a first-class citizen and it will be for the foreseeable future, it doesn't impact me. I don't want it to die. I don't wish it ill. I don't make fun of people who choose UWP over other frameworks or whatever. I don't care. It's fine. Good. Yeah. But I'm just telling you what I was told. People have a hard time with that. I don't know why.
Well, I look forward to them at Build announcing the new framework, which is going to be called Win128 apps. And, that's going to encompass everything.
Yep. Well, there is a new thing. So I said this earlier, like .NET Core becomes .NET in .NET 5, right? Yep. I really do sort of think like .NET 5 will be kind of the basis for this thing. People call it like WinUI is this thing, and WinUI is you can sort of probably choose your own framework, for this kind of a thing. There's a matrix of compatibility. And obviously, if you need to target HoloLens or Surface Hub to some degree, although I think desktop apps probably work there too. Phone's gone, but Xbox, whatever. I mean, you have these choices, and UWP will be one of them. Actually, in HoloLens, UWP is probably the only choice.
Sure.
So it doesn't go away. It's just not the strategy anymore.
It is. I mean, it is an agreement with what you say. It's they can't kill it. It's just like Windows Phone. You can still go buy a Windows Phone today, I bet.
Yikes.
I bet you can. It's still technically there. Anyway.
Hey, listen. Sure, people are writing apps today for the Commodore 64. People are writing them for the Amiga. Yes, I'm sure someone will come out with a great new Windows Phone app a couple of years from now, but it won't be like Adobe or Microsoft. It's going to be Bob over in Illinois or whatever. Because
if you are Bob in Illinois, that's Paul at Thurrott.
Right. No, but it's going to be an individual. That was my point.
So I agree.
That's all.
I agree. Anyways, in the last topic du jour, Paul, tried the new beta of Call of Duty is out. Microsoft in traditional fashion, or somebody on the launch team forgot to say, "Oh yeah, Xbox gets it at 1 p.m." And it went live around like 4 p.m. or something.
Yeah, it was much later in the day.
Yeah. Anyway, so you.
What do you think? I'm curious what you think, first of all, because I know you're not a Call of Duty guy.
Yeah, well, I used to be, and then the Battle Royale genre came out, and so I've played a bunch of that. I don't mind this one. This one seems to be okay. Realistically, here's the bigger thing that determines what games we play. It's like, so I play with a group much like you do with your Halo. It's like, there's like 6 guys that I play with. And if everyone wants to play Call of Duty, we'll play it. If everyone wants to play Apex, then we'll play it. Like, I could play Call of Duty this one for a while and be happy.
Yeah,
it's fine. It's if you like first-person shooter, you're gonna like the game. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't like that during the beta you're forced into whatever game they happen to choose.
Yeah.
You
can filter it. You can filter it.
Oh, you can. Okay,
yeah.
So I'll have to go back.
If you go to quick play and then you hit right, there's a filter and you can just turn off everything except.
I got to tell you how wonderful it is. On the every 4th game, it's just team deathmatch, and I'm like, thank you. And it looks realistic-ish. It's plays a little different, the last couple of games. I spent some time over the past 24 hours going back and replaying a bunch of the old games, all the way back to Modern Warfare 3, but also some of the different Black Ops, some of the weird ones like Advanced Warfare and Infinity Warfare, the ones with the wall running and things like that. And it's just, I guess all of these things kind of feel different in their own way, but that you get used to that, as it goes. But I mean, it seems good. It's
going to be another ticks the box for Call of Duty, and
you know what's happened though? It's funny. So you play Battle Royale, and I got to tell you, that genre and Fortnite in particular, probably, but let's just say Battle Royale has had such a negative impact on Call of Duty that I could just scream. And I've seen it destroying the Black Ops 4. Going back and playing some, not the real old ones, like they're never going to change Modern Warfare 3, but Infinity Warfare falls into this category. Black Ops 3 does. I don't remember exactly which games, but what they've done is, like, if you get into a lobby, you'll see all the guys. Like, back when this game first launched, and with all previous Call of Duty games, what you're looking at is a bunch of guys usually, but then they added women at some point because, of course, you get a PPC and women are in the military, and that's fine. But they're military people. Like they're geared out like military people. If you get into a game today in some of these games, including Black Ops 4, what you see is this nonsense collection of like a clown character, a woman zombie, they're wearing colorful outfits. They have little dances they can do, and so you're sitting there waiting for the game to start, and you can hear like there's music playing, and this guy's like break dancing, and it's like this is a military shooter. What is happening here?
The memes are invading.
Oh God, it's the worst, and it is fascinating to me that it's not just this game.
Yeah,
like I said, because it's at least the last couple. Some number, I don't remember the exact number of them, but like this is like weird. It's like a military shooter, and this girl in a dress runs by with pom poms or whatever, and you're like, what is this? Like, what? And she's got an Uzi, of course. I don't know. I don't understand.
It's a good first world problem.
Fair enough. All right.
You got anything else for today, Paul?
I just have one thing, and I'm actually wondering if anyone has an answer to this. One thing I've been meaning to do is implement, if you will, this Thunderbolt 3 dock that I got from OWC. What that means is, instead of having a computer under my desk, under the monitor, I'll have this thing. Yeah. And this thing will be connected to all my peripherals, like the microphone, the speakers into this screen, but whatever the things are. And the idea is that no matter which computer I'm using, it will connect to it with the one cable, right? The USB-C/Thunderbolt 3 cable. Now, as you know, and as some people listening, watching probably know, some weeks ago, a month ago, whatever it was, I started using the NUC. And the NUC does have a USB-C/Thunderbolt 3 port in the back. It is Thunderbolt 3, like I said. It should work. I also have had terrible PC reliability problems up to this point, and so just getting this thing working, like once it was working, I kind of didn't want to screw with it.
I know that feeling.
Right? But me being me, yesterday I'm like, no, I got to do this thing. So I unplugged everything from the NUC. I plugged it all into the dock. Connected the, dock goes to the display now. Plug the USB-C port into the computer. Thing comes up, perfect. Everything looks great. I'm hitting the space bar to log in. Nothing's happening. I wiggle the mouse, and I realize there's no mouse cursor. And I'm like, huh. And like, I don't know, driver or something. I don't know. So I have the Microsoft set that I use. The keyboard mouse set has a proprietary dongle, USB base. So I unplugged it, plugged it into the NUC. It works fine. So I'm like, huh. So then I did this. I tried a ThinkPad. I tried a MacBook Air. Actually, that's all I tried. And eventually I want to get to I was going to say Chromebook, but actually I don't think I did try a Chromebook. Perfect. They work perfect. Everything plugged into the dock, everything works fine. The mouse works, the keyboard, the camera, everything works fine. It's only the NUC that does not work. And I'm just curious if anyone can think of any reason why, because I got to tell you, that alone makes me not want to use this, because I want to be able to switch back and forth between computers. I review computers all the time. It'd actually be kind of useful to be able to...
Yeah, just pull out the one cord, plug it in, and be done.
Yep. So if anyone knows why it wouldn't, I've obviously I've rebooted. I looked for software on either site to see if there was something. I don't know. So I should say the display works. Like I said, so the display pass through, that works fine. But nothing else plugged into that thing will work with the NUC. Only the display.
Well,
and I cannot explain that.
If we had licensings to the X-File themes, I'd start playing that right now and see if we can't.
Yeah, at first I obviously thought it was the dock, and then I plugged whichever.
But it's clearly not. It's clearly like going to sleep, or that port's going to sleep, or something.
I don't know what it is. Well, the display works. Like I said, display works, and I looked it up. I looked up the NUC. It's full Thunderbolt 3. Everything should work.
Yeah.
The dock itself, it has 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports. One of them supports, I think it's 85 watts. You could even potentially power. I don't know the NUC if it supports it, but you could you can power pretty beefy laptops if you use the right cable, right port with the right cable, whatever. I don't know. So anyway, if anyone has any ideas, I don't know, because I really it's like everything worked. Everything worked. I had to replug everything to do the podcast.
Yep. Well,
sucks.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's all we got.
Yeah, so I'm going to spend the weekend playing with Thunderbolt 3 and with the Call of Duty thing.
Fantastic. And to everybody else, thanks for tuning in. That wraps it up this time. We'll catch. We should all be back here on Monday, provided we don't get hit by lightning. There we go.
Lightning a concern, or did you just pull that out of your butt?
I just pulled it out of my butt. It hasn't rained here in no joke, like 3 weeks. So if
you could walk across the creek right now. You can see that it's probably like 6 inches deep or something.
Crunchy's not a good way to describe a lawn.
Just right. Right.
All right. Catch you later.
All right. Bye.